All right, welcome back to Tips for Tuesday. This week, here's what we're going to cover. We're going to go over shoulder. All right, so the past few weeks we've been spending some time in the lower extremity. We're going to bump it up to the upper extremity. This week, this is going to be like a part 1 of 2 type series. Part 2, probably going to go over doing some stuff, some overhead stuff in regards to your positioning for overhead squat and pressing. All right, but for today, I wanted to go over how do you assess? How do you self-assess to see where your shoulder range of motion should be at? And then based on those assessments, what can you do to correct them if you have any pathological conditions? All right, so shoulder injury, again, we're going to do a quick self-assessment. Here's the rule, right? We always want to assess, don't guess. So what that means is you want to find out if you have any predisposal to injuries, and then go over how to test those and then how to work through them. All right, so the first one we're going to do is we're going to find out if we have any mobility restrictions in the shoulder joint. And you always want to do this. You always want to compare bilateral, so right and left. So you might have one side that's super flexible, the other side not so much, right? That's an issue that you want to deal with. All right, so we're going to have Lauren step in for our first test, so we need a partner for this one. So all you need here is some type of tape measure and then your partner. So she's going to go ahead and face in this direction here. All right, she's going to go ahead and take her thumbs and tuck them in between her hands or under her fingers. And then all we're going to have her do is go one arm high, one arm low, okay, and then go ahead and nail it behind the back. All right, now she just gets one shot at this. She can't ratchet her arms together. Okay, go ahead and relax for a sec. So in other words, we don't want to see her do this. You know, we can get a lot of range of motion if you start tweaking and twerking. We don't want to work on that. Okay, so that's the range that she wants to get in. Now, how do we measure that? Okay, we're going to have her turn back around. So this is what we do with the measuring tape. We're going to have her hold out her hand like this, fingers extended, and we're going to measure from, just so the camera can see, crease of the wrist to the tip of the longest finger, middle finger. Okay, you got about 6 inches there. Okay, so what does that mean? So we're going to have her go back into that testing position. All right, and we're going to have her reach behind her back. Okay, and then we're going to measure that distance from hand to hand, right? So top hand to the bottom of the hand, and we're about 6, I'd say 6¼ inches. All right, so, and then we're going to have her switch sides. Okay, switch sides, and we're going to measure this one here. Okay, and this one is about 5¼ inches, so you can see she has more range of motion on this side. All right, so when you're testing, you want your hands to be at least within 1 hand length of each other. All right, 1 to 1.5. Anything over 1.5, so you know, in other words, she needed to be within 6 to 9 inches. Anything over 9 inches, we're just going to label as pathological. We need to seriously address those mobility issues. All right, so now we can say, all right, well, what's tight on her? The internal rotation or the external rotation, or both? So if she goes ahead and goes back into that position, okay, go ahead and switch, yep. So this is going to be external rotation. Your top arm is external rotation. Your bottom arm is internal rotation. So what I'm going to do here is just place my finger here. This is her external rotation, right arm, internal rotation, left arm. Okay, go ahead and switch sides for me. Okay, and you can see she's equal bilateral pretty much on the external rotation. So that's not the issue here. The issue here seems to be her right arm internal rotation. It's maybe about 1 inch to 1/2 inch off. So that we know that we need to work on internal rotation, right shoulder for Lauren. Okay, go ahead and relax. Okay, thanks, Lauren. Appreciate the help. All right, so that is going to be our internal rotation, external rotation test. All right, make sure you got a measuring device for that. Okay, other ones that you can do, this is all self-assessment stuff, is wall tests. All you need is a flat wall. So you're going to come up against the wall here, and your feet need to be together. Heels need to be in contact with the wall, butt, shoulders, and head. All right, so for the first one, shoulder abduction, here's what that looks like. You're going to have palms together like this, right out about chest height, and then you're just going to abduct the shoulders, and the goal here is to be able to touch the back of the hands to the wall without any compensations. So what are our compensations here? People that are tight and restricting the shoulders, we'll see them, they're here and they can't get to the wall. They'll elevate their shoulders or protract them in order to get them into this position here. So that's one thing that we want to watch out for, elevation and protraction. Another one that we look at is internal external rotation. Again, against the wall like this. You're at a 90-degree position with the elbows and the shoulders. So I'm 90 degrees here and then 90 degrees here. First what I'm going to do is external rotation. The goal here is to get the back of the hands to touch the wall. And then you're going to come down here and internal rotation. The goal is to come within 20 degrees of the wall. All right, and I'm tight internal rotation bilateral. All right, so a couple things to keep an eye out for when you go in internal rotation. Some people will drop their arms and then go into it. That's easier. All right, you get more mobility if you drop your arms. You want to stay at that 90-degree angle. Go down in. All right, make sure their hands don't curve in like this. They stay in the 90-degree plane. All right, and some compensations we'll see here are going to be the same. So we'll see shoulder elevation and protraction. All right, or you see what happens with my hands, right? If I elevate and protract, they're able to go lower. All right, that's a compensation. We need to avoid that. All right, so elevation, protraction. You need to stay away from that. And then the third and final one is going to be shoulder flexion. So your arms are going to be down at your sides. You're going to raise them up over your head, and you want to be able to touch your thumbs to the wall. All right, so thumbs to the wall. So here's the deal. We want to stay away from, again, elevation. So if you're here, and this is as far as you can get, you'll see folks elevate their shoulders to get that extra range of motion. Or in the lumbar spine, we'll see them arch their low back to get that extra range of motion. So here I am right here, right? And then I lumbar extend, so I get that little piece right here where I lose my rib cage. Now I got that extra range of motion. All right, need to avoid that. So your abs need to be engaged, all those points of contact on the wall. All right, so watching out for those three pieces there. Best thing to do really is to set up a phone or video camera and see what's going on there, or have a friend videotape you while you're doing it. Okay, so we did our assessment. These were the compensations that we looked at: shoulder elevation, shoulder protraction, low back arches. All right, if you have one or more of these things happen, what can we do to correct those? So a couple pieces here. Number one, you're going to take a lacrosse ball and do what we call the anterior compartment smash. All right, so we're going to take our lax ball, and what I like to do is get into my internally rotated position. So Lauren, we tested tight internal rotation. So we're going to get into our internal rotated position. We're going to take the lacrosse ball, put it on the chest. You can do this one of two ways. You can do it on the floor, or you can do it against the wall. I like the wall personally. All right, so you're going to get into this position here, and you're just leaning your body weight into the wall and on the lacrosse ball, and then going side to side, and essentially all you're doing here is hunting for those tight, restricted pieces. And when you find a spot that is particularly tight or sore, right, you want to sit on there and smash and mash it out and just do some right to lefts. All right, so I'm just working into that and trying to release that restricted tissue. So that's my anterior compartment smash. All right, and then after I smash it out, I'm going to take it over to the bands, and I'm going to work on loosening that area up. All right, so the first one I'm going to do is what we call the banded bully. So let's say I just smashed my right side. I'm going to hook my arm into the band here. All right, I'm going to get into that internally rotated position, so the hand to the small of the back. I'm going to take my other hand as an assist, and I'm going to grab it. Okay, so if you can see this happen right here. So if I'm here, maybe I'm tight, this is all I got right here. I got this hand here, pulling it across. What's the purpose of the band? The purpose of the band is to set that arm bone, your humerus, into the socket, all right, of the scapula. So don't let the band do this, right? We want to pull that, let the band pull your shoulder into place. I'm taking my leg and coming across my body, and I'm leaning into it. So the band is stabilizing and setting my shoulder up, and then my other hand is pulling my shoulder into that internally rotated position. Then I'm sitting here for about a minute and letting those tissues release. Okay, deep breaths in and out as I'm working through it. Okay, that is the banded bully. The other one that we like to do is called banded super front rack. So we're going to have a band attached to the pole, probably around knee, thigh level. You're going to grab the band, lock it in like so you guys can see how I'm in that band. So you want to have palm relatively open and relaxed so you're not super tense with your hand. All right, and then I'm going to take my arm and go up and overhead. Okay, I'm going to have that same side leg behind me. All right, I'm in a staggered stance. You're letting your arm go. The goal here is try to get it by your ear and touching your head, and you can use this arm as an assist to pull it in. All right, what we'll see is some folks do this out here, or to touch their head, they'll do this with their head. All right. You want to keep your head in a neutral position, all right, and have your arm close to your head and touching your ear if you can. Okay. And then I'm just going to sit in here for about a minute. The other thing too here is make sure that your abs are engaged so we don't get into that lumbar extended position, right? So we'll see some people get into this situation like this. Oh, I can get into it, and yep, that's where I want to be, looking good, right? That's not good, right? You want to be in a nice tall position, abs engaged, pull that rib cage in. If you can't do that and you're getting into that lumbar extension, you just simply raise the band up to release some of the tension on the band, all right? Okay, so that is banded super front rack. All right, so those are our mobility pieces that we're going to work on, and then we got to work on our strengthening pieces. So if you have tight internal rotation, your shoulders elevate and protract. Typically, you're tight anteriorly, so your front structures are tight. Pec major, pec minor, teres major. Okay, those are the structures that are going to pull you in. Now what you want to do is strengthen the posterior muscles, and we do that by doing a few exercises here that I call Mike's triple threat. All right, I didn't invent these exercises, but I'm putting them together in this series of 3 exercises. All right, the goal here is eventually to be able to have a dumbbell in your hand, all right, for all 3 exercises that is equal to 10% of your closed grip bench press 1 rep max. So if you don't know your closed grip bench press, probably a good idea to test it, again, as long as your shoulders are healthy. And you take 10% of that. So let's just say, for instance, your closed grip bench press is 215 pounds. 10% of that is, right, 21.5. So we don't have a 21.5 pound dumbbell, but what I would do is just take a 20-pound dumbbell. So the goal here is to use a 20-pound dumbbell for each of these exercises, doing sets of 8 reps. All right, 10%. Okay, so what do those exercises look like? Check it out. Dumbbell seated external rotation. All right. And you can do this on the floor as well too. So I'm in this position here. I wedge my elbow into my knee. I have a 90-degree bend here in my elbow. I set my shoulder up so that it's not protracted into this position here. All right. And then I'm coming up until the dumbbell is perpendicular to the floor. And then I'm coming down at a slow pace, slow descent. So slow tempo on the way down. Come back up, hold, and then down. Slow pace. Okay, again, I'm going to do 8 of these per side. Okay, so that's dumbbell seated external rotation, focusing on the rotator cuff muscles. Okay, another one that we like to do is sideline Powell raise. And if you have an adjustable incline bench, you want to adjust it at about 30 degrees. We'll call that 30. All right. If you don't have a bench, you can do it on the floor. No big problem, no big deal there. Okay, so I'm going to get into my sideline position. Support my head with my hands, and I'm just coming up like this. Again, until I'm perpendicular to the floor, and then back down at a slow tempo. My elbow can be slightly flexed, but on the way up, it does not move to get the dumbbell there. It stays fixed the whole time. So I'm coming up, hold, come back down. The top hex of the dumbbell should be in line with your chin. All right, so this is working on my mid-rhomboids, mid-traps, so those posterior muscles in the mid to upper back that sets you up and pull you back. All right, so that is sideline Powell raise, and then the last one is dumbbell trap 3 raise. It's called a trap 3 raise because trapezius has 3 muscles, upper, middle, and lower. And this exercise happens to hit all 3. So you're going to get into your position here behind the bench, supported. Thumb is up on the dumbbell. Knees and hips are slightly flexed. And then you're coming up at about a 45-degree angle in terms of you're not coming straight here out in front or straight out to your side. You're coming somewhere in that middle piece. Okay, so coming here. Goal here is to get your arm in line with your ear and then come back down at a slow pace. Common fault on this is I'll see people use their upper trap. So if you have a hyperactive upper trap, they'll use that as an assist. They'll do this here, right? So they'll come up, and this is their end range in terms of strength, maybe a range of motion, and they'll elevate their shoulder to get it up. That's one thing you want to watch out for. If they're doing that, you need to lighten the load on the dumbbell. Again, this should be 8 reps, slow pace down, watching out to make sure that that upper trap does not assist and fire and pull that shoulder up. So your shoulder should be in that neutral, packed position that we talked about before. Okay, and then down. Okay, so that is my triple threat. Those are the 3 exercises you want to go through. I would also like to mention that you might want to refer to our Tips for Tuesday episodes 2 and 4. That's going to give you some more shoulder mobility exercises and also some more posterior chain strengthening exercises as well too, some scapulothoracic stuff to work through. All right. Okay, so this week, shoulder injury self-assessment, do it. All right, check it out, see where you're at, have a friend with you. You guys go back and forth and test each other and find out where you're at, make some notes, and then work on the corrections. All right, that's this week's episode. Till next time, catch you later.